Okay. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the late one. This Sunday night, Sunday, the 28th of the 2nd, 2021, the end of February, heading into March. Yeah, my birthday month. Yes, I was born. People say, boy, SYLBOURNE checks you drop out of sky. But I say, boy, even if I drop out of sky, there must have been a day when I fell out of the sky. On Sunday nights, what I try to do as much as possible is to talk about Jamaica and connecting with Jamaica. So I try to find different angles, different personalities, and different persons to talk about this. And I want to welcome persons who are coming on Facebook, those persons who are coming on YouTube, those persons who are coming on Instagram as well. Because what I've just done the thing whereby I just stick on Instagram. Now, if you're on Instagram, you're not going to hear or see the wonderful art person that I have, Mr. Steve Urchin Wilson. His lovely face. You can go onto Facebook and YouTube and you can see him there, but you can listen because everybody's into audio now with podcasts, so you can listen to that as much as possible. So yeah, so without further ado, I want to talk about this is Reggae Month as well, and one of the reasons I wanted to sort of bring in something of the reggae aspect at the artist of the day, Richard Shams, with Lester Gaza Gale. And we're talking about the dancehall culture where it's a myth. But who we have today is Mr. Richard Shams. Sorry, not Mr. Shams. Sorry. We've got Steve Urchin Wilson. Yes. So Steve Urchin Wilson is, and I'm going to read briefly his bio. Steve Urchin Wilson is the journeyman of the entertainment industry, having formerly worked as a studio manager, artist manager, nightclub promoter, and a record executive. He has spent the last 18 years touring the world with Grammy Award-winning reggae ambassador Sean Paul as part of his management team, and as a traveler with the ability to blend into any culture. He has not only been to 120 countries and hundreds of cities, but he has been able to travel and to truly see these places. Whilst other tourists seek the familiar and often seen sights, Wilson has made it his mission to go off the beaten track and seek the local flavors wherever his work has taken him, being mostly photographed in stolen moments, rushing between an endless blur of venues, hotels, studios, and airports. Look Down, which is something we're going to talk about, is a book which he has recently authored, a glimpse of his unique perspective, accompanied by quotes from his father and grandfather that he has been amused and guided by over the years. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me bring in Mr. Urchin Wilson, the journeyman. And here we are. Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Lovely weather, lovely day here in Kingston, Jamaica. How's the weather over there?
Well, it's not bad. It's not bad. Yesterday it was sunny, and people got a bit carried away. And the prime minister and everybody said, guys, please remember we're in a pandemic. We're on lockdown. Can you just don't get too carried away? People in Brixton was stripping off. I was in the park. And then today, guess what happened, Richard? I'm Stephen. Let me get Richard over. Stephen, you wouldn't believe what happened today. It was overcast. It was foggy. It reminded me, I tell you what it reminded me of. When you go to Kingston, Jamaica, you're driving on that motorway and it's like the fog reaches sky. You know, that's what it looked like, and the place got shut down today. So therefore, I don't know if the prime minister and the government had some plans.
In the clouds, eh?
The clouds, you know what I mean? Because as you know, we are in lockdown over here because of COVID. Yeah. Before we go any further, what's it like in Jamaica from your perspective in regards to COVID?
So Jamaica right now is we're in curfew. So 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. we're curfew. Nobody should be on the streets.
Yes.
Gatherings are limited to 10 people. I personally think the government's doing a great job. That's my opinion. It's difficult with a population that's struggling. We're a quote unquote third world country, so we don't have the finances that a first world country has to be able to give the relief, the financial relief to people. So people are struggling, and people are out there trying to figure out how to navigate this. And I think socialization is a really big part of Jamaican community and Jamaican culture. So it's hard to tell people you can't keep partying, you can't go a bar, and you can't do this and you can't do that. So I think the government's doing well, and I think the people, for the most part, are acquiescing and doing what they're supposed to do. You know, you'll always have outliers, and you'll always have community spread and problems like that. But
Yes.
we're trying to keep it going at a certain extent.
Yes.
Local tourism, I think, is up. I have certainly traveled around Jamaica more in the last year than I have probably my whole life. I've been to all kind of places, and we try to keep socially distant and keep the economy going.
Wow, well, that's great, because I've had Chris Tufton on my show already, talking about it, and the work that they've been doing. I understand that they're now in the process of getting vaccines down in Jamaica. We're getting vaccines over here. I think the UK is like the pilot where they're doing the human testing.
Seems that way, right?
What's that?
Seems that way.
Yeah, they call it the human testing, because there were two monkeys on a tree one time, and the monkey said to the other monkey, said, "Listen, are you going to take the vaccine?" And the monkey said, "Are you crazy? I'm waiting for the human testing to be done first." So I'm just, these are the jokes, and I hope nobody don't say I'm an anti-vax, and then they say SYLBOURNE is against the vaccine or blah blah blah. But Steve, listen, it's great having you on the show. Thank you so much for the short notice. And but listen, first of all, journeyman. You are the journeyman. I need to find out, what is this journeyman of the entertainment industry, Steve Urchin. That phrase was coined. Tell us about it, sir.
I think that for me, I went to University of the West Indies.
Yes.
Under some duress. Both my parents are university lecturers, and they said, you graduate from high school, need to go to university. And I said, well, what am I going to study? Because there isn't an entertainment program. There wasn't yet at that time. There is now. Thank you very much. Both Tech and University of the West Indies and Edna Manley all have tertiary entertainment programs, which is fantastic. And I've gone and I've spoken at all of them. But back in my day, those didn't exist. And I always knew I wanted to be in music and I wanted to be in entertainment. So I went and I did my degree. And then when I graduated with a degree in mass communication, specialization in TV. And then I basically went about what I look at as my master's program, which was working in as many different areas of entertainment as I could. I worked at Reggae Sunsplash, I worked at Tough Gang, I worked at Island Records in Jamaica, I worked with Sharon Burke, I worked at Solid Agency, I did everything. I worked at nightclubs, I worked at recording studios, I worked with management, I worked as a road manager, I did everything I could find that was attached to music. I also did parties. I promoted live shows. I started a record label. So I kind of said, I kind of did everything, and it kind of prepared me for my eventual, zenith, which is working with Sean Paul. So when I started working with Sean, and we started eventually hiring people, I could hire somebody and say, well, I know your job because I've done your job, and I think that it puts you in a position where you can hire somebody who you're confident in because you kind of have an idea of what they do. And so that's why I say I'm a journeyman, and I feel like I've kind of done a little bit of everything.
Wow. So I
don't like the term jack of all trades, because then it suggests master of none. I don't like that.
Well, I want to tell you, the guy Richard Branson, he touches on everything and he's mastering everything, because it's a new era now where people are putting their hands in different pots now. So that saying, which was before where people were encouraged not to do many things, is somewhat deemed to be of the pot. But let me just welcome persons. Dean Murray say good night. Benjamin Durant say big up Steve. Lester Gale say Gaza checking in. I thought Gaza wasn't Gaza in prison, Virgin. I didn't know Gaza. Gaza the what?
Gaza is a place. Gaza is an attitude. Gaza is not a person.
Let's talk about the Gaza bit briefly. So
Lester, tell him, Lester.
Huh?
I'm telling Lester to tell you that Gaza is not just a person. Gaza is an attitude and a place.
So Gaza is like an ideology to a certain extent in Jamaica. The gully and
yeah.
Well, I keep seeing people keep saying this. Jamaica is not a real place. Sometimes when things happen, and I say Jamaica is not a real place. I'm from Ocho Rios, and I understand of recent days. I think it was a couple of years ago. Ocho Rios was deemed as another country. And
well, I tell you something. My wife is from Montego Bay, and when I first went there, they asked me. They said, "Do you have your visa?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "For the Republic of Montego Bay, do you have your visa?" I say, "You're from Kingston, you can't just come here like that." If I was trying to do events in Montego Bay, and I had to have my approval.
Yes, yes. Well, for me personally, because me is the original Urchin man, so I'm the de facto government overseas, and I'm in isolation overseas. So I got my sister as the president, tourist there. So anybody want to go out, you ever get the visa still. But
All
listen,
right.
well, listen. Look down. I want to, you got this book here, and I want to bring up this image here. Stephen, let me bring up this book here. Look down. This is a book which is a perspective you may have missed. What is it that people have missed now? Tell us about the book. Tell us the concept behind it, because it is said that you capture the book is a lot with images, and I will look at some of the images, but tell us about it. What's the concept behind it while you're traveling?
So it's images and quotes actually, but the images came first. And so what happened was, I've been traveling the road with Sean Paul for 20 years. Like you said, 120 countries, thousands of cities. And what happened was, I found that I'd have an hour, maybe an hour and a half to see a city or see a town or see some place, before we had to rush and get ready for show or interviews or whatever, what have you. And I said, I don't want to travel and not see the world. I want to see the world as well. So I sort of developed a super touristing methodology where I'd run out and, I'd grab the driver and say, listen, what's the one place I have to see? And what's the one thing I have to know? And what's the one thing I have to eat? Where do you eat? I don't want to eat some tourist place. Tell me where you eat, So I tried to get the real perspective of a place. And in doing that, I said, I don't want to take a picture of the Eiffel Tower. There are thousands of wonderful pictures of the Eiffel Tower, right? And then I don't want to take a picture of me at the Eiffel Tower. I want to take a picture of things that people don't normally look at, which is usually from a perspective of looking down. And it started out with manhole covers, and then it started to become plates of food, and then it was kind of grew from there. And then after a while, during COVID, it was my COVID pivot, which is what I like to say.
Yes.
That I started to clean out your phone. I think most of us did that at some point during COVID. You're locked in, you're sitting down, you have nothing to do. You start go through the 10,000 picture in your phone. And I started to realize, wow, I really have about 400 of these pictures. And I said, okay, I'm going to put them on Instagram. And then I said, no, people are going to be kind of, fed up of that after a quick minute. And I said, no, I'm going to do a book. And then I approached my publisher, which was Quote Studios in Jamaica, Kendra Arch, who I have to shout out. And she said, well, why don't you give a narrative to it? Give it some kind of a context where you put quotes into your things and speak about, what these things mean to you. And I said, well, interestingly, my father and my two grandfathers, as I think all of us have this, where they tell you things constantly. It's over and over and over. You get this repetition of these, these commonalities that keep quoting over and over in your head, and they become part of your ethos.
Yes.
And my father was turning 85 last year, and I was turning 50. And I said, what a great, sort of landmark this would be to be able to put this book out on my 50th birthday before my father 85th. We're both Libras, as is my son. Yes. So it's also almost a multi-generational Libra thing. And so I coupled it with quotes that have been given to me over time by my father and my grandfathers.
Yes.
Some of them are extrapolated from knowledge that they've given me. Some of them are sort of distilled down into things that I have kind of figured out from what they were saying. And some of them are absolutely direct quotes from these people. And some of them are entertaining. Some of them are funny. Some of them are, really educational. And some of them are those things that you always say as when you become a father. Oh, I'm not going to say that to my kids. And then 5 minutes after the picnic barn, you find yourself saying these things, right? And that is as genetic as any kind of blood type that you get from your parents, right?
Yes.
So I kind of sewed those two things together and created a narrative that went along with the photos.
So therefore, if we look at the book here now, I can see there's the glasses. I was intrigued. I got two pictures, but the glasses intrigued me. I must say, it's like complimentary the glasses there. But tell us about what is in these. Like what's the first, that big picture there now? Where is that? I mean, is that a country? Is that somewhere from the country?
So that is actually a pot made in Jamaica by this lady that makes those little urchins there. And my name, it's a nickname of mine, is Steve Urchin.
Yes.
And I started collecting those little baby urchins. And then she made that teapot, and I saw it. And somebody actually gave it to me for Christmas, a friend of mine who's really into tea, Natasha. And I said, wow, this is really a perfect compliment to this whole kind of story of me as an urchin and
Yeah.
this lady doing urchins. And then the scones are actually made by my wife, who started her COVID pivot was to start a company called Mel Sticky Jams, where she makes jams from Jamaican fruits, very natural jams, and they're on the market now in Jamaica. We're looking to export to UK soon, so you'll
Yes.
see them. And so it's kind of like it was a kind of a snapshot of. It's almost like it's a portrait of me and my wife without people knowing that. To be honest with you.
So what you're saying then? It was COVID inspired. Can
Absolutely,
we say that?
absolutely.
Wow.
Both this book and my wife's jams were COVID pivots of ours, where we found ourselves a lot of time at home. And she said, I've always wanted to do this. And so she takes seasonal fruits and turns them into like these very imaginative jams.
Yes.
So I featured in the book because it was something that was in my house so much while I was doing this book.
It is interesting when you mention, well, I said COVID inspired, and you agreed with that to a certain extent, because a lot of people, I believe, during the course of this time had to confront themselves and create things, because the lockdown thing was driving people crazy. Like me, I started to walk. I started to do a lot of these walking in the mornings and just walk in the park.
Me too.
And well, we need to do a walk and talk then, and we link up from the UK.
Ready.
But listen, this other book here now, I find this other one, Look Down to Feel Up. Let's look. I know Rosa Parks saying was you sit to stand up, you sit down in order to stand your position. Look down to feel up. What is that? That's a quote there. What are you saying right there?
What happened to me was, like I said, I started to feel like as I go through these cities, I'm walking down streets in Paris or in Morocco or UK or wherever, and I started to say, well, I'm looking at all these things that thousands of people have looked at before, right? And then I started to say, well, I look down and I say, well, I'm walking on streets that thousands of people have walked on before, but I don't feel like people have experienced that perspective of looking down. And really taking in some of the artwork that happens at your feet, right? So things like people who do manhole covers and people who do the bottom of the lamppost, which is one of the photos in my book in France. There's these fantastic koi fish that are on the bottom of lampposts in a specific area in Paris near the Louvre. And I just said, boy, these are artists that are overlooked and not seen. You know, so I say, I look down to see these things, and it makes me feel buoyed up. It makes me feel, really. I feel like there's a magnificence in the tiny details, right? A lot of the time we miss those details. And my thing was like, I went to Paris 20, 30 times with Sean, and by the 30th time, I'm like, I'm not interested in the Louvre or the Champs-Elysees or the Arc de Triomphe. Those things have become mundane to me. So what is it that the Parisians are looking at? And I start to realize the Parisians are looking at these little details of these little things and these little interesting things, and you start to feel like a citizen of those places. When you start to notice the details, and a lot of times notice the details, you have to look down. And then the other part of the look down thing was that my grandfather would be looking down in perspective, not in terms of a negative way. They're looking down on me growing up and saying, okay, I see you doing some things right, some things wrong, and I want to guide you, and so I look down on you and pull you up. So it's a look down to feel up, is like you're looking down on me, but you're actually getting a great deal of positivity and great energy by helping me to grow up.
So one would say it's a feel-good factor book then. It's something that
Absolutely.
people, and also you mentioned in your bio that you tend to go into the highways and the byways and not into the typical thing. Isn't that something synonymous to Jamaica as well, where sometimes visitors, I understand, sometimes don't want to go into the all-inclusive. They want to go out and feel Jamaica for itself, but sometimes we lock them into the all-inclusive.
Absolutely. So it's interesting because I was just looking in the public chat, and my friend Benjamin from Belgium says, you need insiders locally to take you around. He said, just forward to Belgium, my friend. This is somebody, this is a very interesting story. Benjamin came to Jamaica from Belgium as a graduate, and he had an internship that he had to do, and he got to come to Jamaica and do it, and by working for me.
Yes.
So working for me, he was supposed to be learning English, but ended up learning Patois. Right? But when I went to Belgium, he showed me Belgium in a way that no guidebook could have showed you, right? You know what I mean? He said, look, yeah, that's the thing that tourists look at, but forget about that. Let me show you the real thing. Yeah, that's the thing that the guidebook tells you to eat, but don't worry about that. I'm going to show you the real place.
Yeah.
And he showed me the real food. He showed me the real wine. He showed me the real Brussels, you know?
Yes.
And it's something that is absolutely what is exactly what he said. That people come to Jamaica, lock themselves into all-inclusive, and then leave and they say, oh yeah, I've been to Jamaica. And I said, no, you really haven't actually. You know, you went to whatever hotel you were at, and that's nice. I'm not saying it's not nice, but you can't say that you experienced our culture.
Yes.
You want to experience our culture when you land. Grab your driver and say, yo, driver, carry me to where you eat, and then carry me to where you go drink. Then you're going to have a taste of Jamaican culture. And I think that's true of everywhere in the world.
Yes.
And that's what my book is kind of about. It's kind of saying, look, here are the details that you would have missed because you weren't looking down.
But I must say, though, Steve, I'm going to show the book again, and something that I picked up because I was going through the bits that I can see. I see a finger there with a purple thing on it. What that star?
That is in Jamaica, which is interesting too, because I feel like I don't know how many countries do this. But in Jamaica, when you vote on election day, they make you put your finger in ink to prove that you voted, and so that you can't vote again. Right? Because we've had problems in the past where, you know,
dead man vote
have voted numerous times, and even dead people vote in Jamaica sometimes, right? so that's why we do that. And it's funny because it's exactly the type of detail that a Jamaican wouldn't think was worth sharing, right? Because we just think, oh yeah, that's how it is. Isn't that how it is everywhere? And and as you travel, you realize, no, that's not how it is everywhere. Yeah. And so I wanted to share that moment and say, hey, this is something that we do here.
But it's a moment in the book that will generate a discussion that Benjamin might say, so Steve, what do you think about politics in Jamaica? I hear different things from, you know. So what are you saying right there? Also, I'm not going to ask you your political views. Everybody have political views in Jamaica. I'm not going to ask you what party you're affiliated with. If there's any, but what's your view on the political dynamics in Jamaica, for instance?
Well, honestly, one thing I will say is that throughout my life, I saw politics in Jamaica go from extremely tribalistic, polarizing, absolutely like you'd never say, you know, a orange and a green coexist in a space, right? To nowadays, I mean, especially our last election, there was a famous photograph. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but of a guy on the front of a bike, and he's in green with his green flag, and the guy on the back is in orange with his orange flag. And I just thought, my God, this shows how far our country has come, right? We really have gotten to the point where we can agree to disagree. And I think that's a magnificent place to be. And that's kind of how I view politics in Jamaica, that you have your opinion and I have mine.
Yes.
Both can be valid. Both can have weight. And how I always vote in Jamaica, I vote, and this is how we do it here. We don't vote for the leader of the country. We vote for our local politician, right? We vote for our parliamentarian and the person who deals with our area. And to me, I look at my area and I say, okay, the two guys who are representing in this area, who deals with my area the best? And I vote for that guy regardless of his political affiliation. Now, I do have a family party affiliation.
Yes.
And it tends to go along with those lines. Luckily, I'm in a constituency where the guy who leads our constituency is just absolutely non-pariah to me. There's nobody who's as good as him in our constituency, right?
Yes.
So I vote for him. But my thing is, if you don't vote, then you don't really have Jamaica is full of veranda politicians.
Yes.
But I sit on the veranda and say, oh, the government had this and the government had that. And if you want to see it, anybody, go on Twitter and look, right? And Jamaicans love to go in daily on what everybody is doing wrong and who could have done better, right? Instead of saying, all right, well, this guy's doing okay, but let's try and help him to do better. We don't really have that mentality. We have this mentality of, oh, you know, let's crab in a barrel. Let's tear down the guy who's not doing a perfect job. You know what I mean? And I feel like there needs to be more unification. I like where we're going. I feel like we're heading there.
Yes.
But I don't think we're there yet. I don't know if anywhere in the world is there yet, to be quite honest with you.
Yes.
But I just feel like if you don't vote, then you don't have a voice, right? Or your voice is meaningless. Put it that way. I
mean, politics is something which is in my blood. Coming from Jamaica, and I'm involved with political parties here. I've stood for office in the past. I'm a member of the present government structure in this country. People know that. Sometimes they say, as a black man being a conservative, it's an issue. But I as far as I'm concerned, I believe that one needs to be politically active involved. But I want to pick you on something, because we got the same parliamentary system here in the UK. When we had Brexit, Steve, Boris Johnson winning that election wasn't because of the MP. Many MPs lost their seats or so because majority of people wanted Brexit. Let's get Brexit done. And we have had elections in the past where great MPs lose their seat because of the direction of a country based on the leader. I believe strongly as well that the member of parliament should be that key person, because it is terrible to have a very good MP, and just because the leader of the country is going a different way, you vote that MP out for somebody who's crap.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
You know? So that's a little fallacy there with the political system, which is, and that's why sometimes they're saying it is best that you have a like America, a presidential system. In Jamaica, we have been talking about removing the governor general, the queen, and have a thing, but that's been talking about for years, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, man, colonialism is a hell of a thing, right? And we can talk about that for days and days. It is something that, like, I mean, I remember my grand aunt when I moved to America when I was 7. I came back when I was 11. And when I came back, I lived with my grand aunt.
Yes.
And in her house, she had pictures of the queen. And every time the queen came to visit Jamaica, there was a memorial stamp or a spoon or whatever it was. And she grabbed that and she had it up in the house. And it was a great, wonderful, celebratory thing for her, you know. And I grew up with that same concept of, wow, the queen is really awesome, you know.
Yes.
And then as I got older, I started to ask the question, like, what does the queen do? And people were like, well, she doesn't do anything. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, this is crazy. We're celebrating this woman because of her blood lineage. That's it.
Well, listen. So for people to get hold of the books now, how people can get hold of the book if they want the book? I mean, I can see Benjamin is telling us that his book is in Buta.
Yeah.
So I think we can. I think
Benjamin had a wonderful misadventure with Amazon.
Yeah.
Which I'm very. I'm amused, except for it's not my money, right? So I can be amused. But his book ended up in Bhutan. I'm not really sure how, but
so we can all go to.
I think you ordered, and I think it's on the way. I think
at least we know where our book is. At least we all know where our book is.
At least he knows where his book is, right? But I mean, you have down here my information. So if anybody orders a book and has an issue, I can certainly, you know, I'm looking into it, which I did with Benjamin. Luckily, he's a friend of mine, so I can send him a book if I need to.
So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, one can get the book from Amazon there.
So Amazon is the place. Now, you can get the book on Kindle, but I don't recommend it because it's a coffee table book. This is actually the book here. I have it here.
Okay.
So you can see what it looks like. Oh, I'm reversed. So and you can see, like, these are, you know.
It looks reversed, but it is showing properly. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So that's the book there. And it's just more of a coffee table book. So there's a lot of pictures in it, and there are some quotes, but I think if you get the actual, you know, paper copy, it's better than if you get it on Kindle, because on Kindle I feel like a coffee table book on Kindle, it can't be put on the coffee table, right? Yeah. So I kind of defeat the point. So I would definitely advise people to order it on Amazon. Look down, like it says there, either search it or you can search me, Steve Urchin, as an author. And anybody who gets it, I had a plan to do a book tour and go everywhere and have books and sign them and stuff. Of course, you know, COVID has played havoc with that. But what I would say is, anybody who buys the book, if you ever run into me, or if you hear I'm in a city, or if you hear Sean Paul is in a city, shout me and I'll make sure to arrange to sign it for you.
Well, as they say all the while, and I'm going to sing this song and people are going to scream, COVID, you mash up my life. You mash up my life, COVID, you mash up my life.
You know what? I can't say that, because if not for COVID, I probably wouldn't have done this book. That's the truth.
Exactly.
And other thing I would say is that COVID has brought me a lot closer to my children and my wife, because I've been home and I confirmed this with my mother. She says I've never been in one place for 14 months in my entire life.
Wow. Now that's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting what you said right there. And I'm just moving swiftly on to something. We have talked about the book. Is there anything else you want to talk about the book? I want to jump in onto some other issues. Now that I got you about the book, but I want to tag into some other things.
Sure. I mean, hey, listen, man. Like I told you before the interview, I said nothing for me is taboo. I like to talk about anything. The book is a dip of my toe into a philosophical system and belief that I have, and I'm gonna go deeper in it in my next book, which will be less pictures and more script.
Yes.
So I'm definitely down to discuss. I love talking about things.
So this is a start of something. Well, let me just pick up what people are saying. Benjamin saying Boris won because of previous minister couldn't get Brexit done, but majority of British not willing to have Brexit. Steve, Benjamin, I'm actually going to disagree with you. Majority of Brits really want Brexit. That's why they voted it. But that's just a political point there. Lester Gale, it's a constitution thing, must change, the world change. And Benjamin there, it's on its way. The book is on its way. And Lester Gale said, next time you in Holland, Steve, link up the Gaza youth, make quick.
Hey, listen, Holland is one of my favorite countries in Europe. I love to be in Holland. I love Holland. So I shall definitely link you up, Lester. Drop me an Instagram and let me know where you are, and we'll link up for sure.
Can I tell you this? Lester is in Holland, and anytime I want what's going on in Jamaica, Lester tell me what's going on in Jamaica.
Yeah, I have friends that's all over the world that link me and say, what do you think about so and so? And I'm like, what's that? And they're like, you don't know that, it's right down the road. And I'm like, okay, let me go do some research. Because, a lot of time we're in a bubble. So especially now during COVID, I'm not on the street as much as I would be.
Yeah. Steve, this is Reggae Month, and it's something I wanted to ask. It is something which I've been trying to get even someone to talk about. The whole advent of the whole advent of COVID, as while it's inspired and create opportunities for many persons. For me, I've started a podcast, for argument's sake, and it's at the top on Google. Walk and Talk Motivational Moments. I walk and I talk and I do these inspirational.
I've seen.
Yeah. And it's great. I love it. People say, who am I reaching to? I say, I'm not reaching to anybody. I'm just enjoying my life. I'm just walking and just having a fun time. And people loving it. But reggae music artists at this time, how are they faring knowing that there's no dance, there's no big session going on? How, in the UK, we had furlough whereby people are being able to get paid. What is it like? I mean, you're in the heart of it. What is it like for reggae music artists?
I mean, honestly, I wonder how reggae artists are surviving during this time. Those who have managed to save money, which hopefully some of them have. Some are doing online shows.
Yes.
There's very little in the way of support, as there is like in the UK and Canada and America, where you're getting these, these checks in your account just deposited without even asking. There is some relief here. It's not much, and it's certainly not anywhere near of a management level of support. But I don't blame the government wholly. I blame our industry for not having one voice. And it's something that I've often wanted and something I want to push forward, that I think the entertainment industry in Jamaica and probably in other Caribbean countries as well needs to have a unified voice. I think that if we sit down and we say, okay, everybody in entertainment, come, let's sit down and let's talk, let's figure out what we need, and then let's go to the government and ask for it, right? Because I feel like if you don't ask, you don't get. And it's all well and good to sit here and whine and say, boy, we're not at work and nobody now support it. But have you asked for support? Have you asked for it officially? Have you asked for it in writing? Have you asked for it in a reasonable way?
Yes.
Have you thought about how it might be financially covered? All these things are things that I feel like the onus falls on us, right? And 30 years in music business, I've never felt like I knew where to go to say, all right, guys, I have something that I want to tell everybody in entertainment. Here's where I can go once a month and tell everybody, and everybody can agree or disagree, put in their input, and we'll come up with a document where we say, here's our manifesto, government, we need this, we need that, Babsy, we need this, Babsy, we need that, whatever. So a lot of it is very freestyle. A lot of it is very sort of, well, here's something for you guys, and we'll start to say, okay, I'm going to grab it, and certain people get and certain people don't get, and that kind of thing. So I just feel like there needs to be a unified voice of for asking.
So what you can comfortably say is that there's a lack of leadership then, not just...
I'm not even going to say leadership. I'm just going to say I feel like there's a lot of leaders, but I feel like they're not leading.
Right.
And if they are leading, they're leading factions. And so it's something that I'm actually pushing into. So there's a thing called Kingston Creative, which is sort of very leaned heavily on making downtown Kingston an art district, right? Kind of like what they did with Miami Beach, making it an art deco district. And they're doing a lot of murals, and it's been mostly visual art up to now. But I've started working with them to try and create a musical arm to it. And I think that it needs to be everybody. It needs to be fashion, photography, videography, music, promoters, writers, everybody should join up and say, guys, here's what we need, because that is our goal in this country, right? Our goal is our people. The creativity and the talent of our people is what our goal is, right?
So
anywhere in the world I have been, the one thing Jamaica is most famous for, as you can well testify to, as you land somewhere, oh, I'm from Jamaica, oh, you know Bob Marley?
Yeah.
That's the first thing they say. But Jamaica can't really, in terms of when I say Jamaica as a system or as a government or can't really claim Bob Marley. Like, we didn't do anything to help him become who he was. We didn't educate him. We didn't teach him music. We didn't give him a platform on which to perform. We didn't give him a record label. We didn't give him tour support. None of that was given to Bob Marley. And none of that is, or not, very little of that is given to artists even nowadays. You know, and I feel like a lot of the money that's been generated by reggae music doesn't exist here. It's gone.
Wow.
Right?
Because even Bob Marley had to leave Jamaica to get security in America, in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah. And even to make money. And it's something that continues and persists. The diaspora supports Jamaica music way more than Jamaica ever supports our music.
Wow.
Well, thank God for Windrush. Thank God for Brooklyn. Thank God for Toronto. You know what I mean? Thank God for Florida. All these people, all these Jamaicans that left and went away. Those are the people that we survive off of.
So
and that's a fact.
I mean, what do you, okay? You mentioned about having this fraternity in order to be able to come together and lobby in order to have a strong voice. Do you see any break in that, like it is happening very soon? Because you don't want to see like a deja vu where we keep talking about this, and then Steve become an old man, 80 years old. Boy, a long time I talk about them thing and a star.
No, well, you see, this is what I'm talking about when I say veranda politics.
Yes.
Right? I don't believe in veranda politics. If I talk about something that means reach out to me, that means I'm reaching out to people. That means I'm trying to do something to create some kind of movement and motion forward where this happens. And another thing, I agree with this person that says we need laws to protect reggae artists. That's true. But you know what? We need more than laws. We need educational system that says to kids, right? Because when I was in high school, I was a flunky. I was a bad student. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't good at physics and these things that they're teaching. But nobody ever said to me, hey, so there's entertainment. And in entertainment, it doesn't mean that you have to make music. You can manage, you can choreograph, you can be an engineer. You can do, there's 50 jobs in entertainment that have nothing to do with actually making music. But nobody is giving you that training in early school anyway. No, like I said, tertiary has started to become a thing, which is great. But I think by that time, a lot of the kids who didn't have the, how shall I say, the 5, 6, 8 subjects to be able to get into a tertiary education situation have been weeded out. And they're out on the street, out there trying to write songs and and most of the musicians who are successful and doing well in dancehall, they don't have that knowledge of the music industry. They don't know what to do. They don't know what publishing is. They don't know what a split sheet is. They don't know they don't know that they need a lawyer. They don't know what a lawyer does. They don't know how they should pay a lawyer. They don't know that they need a choreographer or a stylist or a manager or a road manager or an engineer. They don't know what these people do. Our engineer, one of Sean Paul's engineers, was a truck driver. And him just watch sound system and go around sound system, and him kind of learn by experience and road, right? Which is wonderful and fantastic for him, because he has that wherewithal to want to do that. But a kid who has that propensity but doesn't have that avenue to go down, where does he end up? You understand what I'm saying? So to me, it's a music education should be an absolute staple in schools in Jamaica. And I don't mean that stupid recorder thing that them try to make we learn, because that's the most frustrating instrument on the creation as far as I'm concerned.
So what we're talking about, and I think I discussed this some time ago with someone else, is that so really and truly, reggae music, dancehall music somehow is like, in a sense, it's a life bread or a lifeline for Jamaica, but it's not. Is it? But as Blogging Glod said, it is not really protected. There's more we can achieve from that, Steve.
Absolutely. But all right, I put it like this. Like you said, I love what you said. It's the life's bread of Jamaica, but we don't want to plant any wheat. Or when the wheat plants somewhere, nobody's going over there to say, well, let's make sure the wheat has water and fertilization and so on. So, like, to become a successful musician in Jamaica,
Yes.
It's like you have to do a steeplechase, right? You have to be able to jump all these hurdles, right? And despite your struggle, you become successful. Which industry in the world is like that, where you in a country recognize that we have an insane amount of talent in this area, but yet still nobody says, well, let's go and mine it. Let's create schools. Let's create these opportunities for these kids, you know, where they can come and hone their skills. I mean, the most embarrassing story to me, this is before COVID. I had a friend of mine come from Romania. This guy was a reggae fan from birth. He brought Sean Paul to Romania. And he said, Steve, I'm coming to Romania, I'm coming to Jamaica for Christmas. And I said, fantastic, you should come. So I'm coming, he said, I'm coming to Kingston. I said, great. He lands, I went to pick him up at the airport. He comes out and he says, I was confused when I landed. And I said, why? And he said, I didn't think I was in Jamaica. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, isn't this where Bob Marley was born? And I said, yes. And he says, why didn't I land and like literally see a statue of Bob Marley when I was when in the plane? And he says, Bob Marley was voted the artist of the millennium, album of the century by Time magazine.
Yeah.
But you guys don't seem to think he's a big deal. I said, yeah, man, there's a statue. It's by the stadium. And I drove him by the stadium and I showed him the statue. And he said, this statue should be 40 feet high, he said.
Yeah.
And he said there should be a street. The street should be lined with statues of Dennis Brown and Gregory Isaacs. And I was like, oh my God. Here is somebody who is from Eastern Bloc who understands iconography and who understands that we do not celebrate our heroes. Right?
But
and if we don't celebrate our heroes, then our kids coming up going to feel like they should pursue that path or celebrate those heroes themselves.
But Steve, we got Reggae Month. I mean, shouldn't Reggae Month being the okay, I understand there's some struggles and some difficulties because people are not able to go out and have all these dance and all these parties. But I've been getting a lot of virtual stuff and a lot of events regarding Reggae Month. Shouldn't Reggae Month be something which epitomize, idolize, and
it should be. And my friend Andrea has been working on Reggae Month for years, and she keeps trying to push her agenda and make it bigger and bigger. And I feel like it's people look at it like festival, you know. In Jamaica we have festival where people kind of think like, oh, it's old people something that, or you know, people don't really, you know, there's not a wholesale grabbing of it by the youth, you know, like carnival, soca music has gotten really big in Jamaica now, and body goes, and you know, when carnival season, them all going to go fets, and Trinidad is coming to Jamaica, influencing our culture big time, which I love. I love Pan-Caribbeanism. I love that.
Yes.
But I feel like we don't own Reggae Month in the same way that we own Carnival. We don't celebrate it. We don't put our hearts into it. You know, I feel like even artists that Andrea Davis will reach out to artists and say, hey, we're doing Reggae Month. I want you to the shows. Nobody want to get paid. Nobody wants to give them time for free. You know, why not? We should, right? That should be the time, like you said, that we all come together and say, all right, yeah, this is Reggae Month and we're going to celebrate this and we're going to show everybody, say, and it should be a massive thing that people are flying to Jamaica for Reggae Month. So the second part of the story I was telling you about my friend from Romania was he landed, he got to his hotel, he said, I'm going to go change, and then I'm getting ready to go to a reggae concert. And I said, well, which reggae concert? And he says, I don't know. I figured there must be 2 or 3 going on every night in Kingston. I said, no, actually, there isn't any. And he was like, what do you mean? This is the birthplace of reggae music. There should be reggae music every night, all night. Bands playing in every hotel. I said, no, that's more of Ochi or Negril and thing. And so, you do it for tourists, but you don't do it for yourself?
Wow. That
I mean, honestly, this guy taught me, he gave me such an education and the perspective of how we look at reggae ourselves.
Yes. Well, Benjamin said, never seen a prophet in your own country. Never seen as a prophet in your own country as well. You know, well,
here's sorry to cut you, but here's the truth about that. It's fine if we never saw him as a prophet when he was alive. Now that he's dead, we see him as a prophet, but we still don't act on the lessons that he left us.
Yes.
Right? So that night I took that guy to Yush, which was a big party during Christmas in Jamaica. And he went, and luckily there was a couple of guys that jumped on the mic behind turntables at Yush, and thank God, you know, for Quiz and Scott and PP, that there was that party that people got to that he got to experience dancehall culture at least. But he was like, oh, I thought I could see a dancehall session and then go to a reggae show and then go to a dub thing, and I was like, no, those things we don't have that. It doesn't exist. And he was like, why? You know, you know, in Holland, for example, your friend Lester there can tell you, there's probably a more lively. You can probably go see a reggae concert in Holland twice a week, more than you can in Jamaica. And you in London when before COVID could I go see a reggae concert 2-3 times a month, don't it?
Yeah. Well, listen, I just want to wrap up on a couple of points here. A quick one: dub plates in politics for elections. What are your thoughts on that? I just throw that one.
My thoughts on dub plates in politics are, if an artist is passionate about a particular politician or political party or a particular view, then I don't see a problem. Yeah. My problem is when people start using money to buy what's perceived as support from an artist. If you go pay an artist a bunch of money and him do have dub plate for you, but that artist really don't care about your political views or doesn't even know what your political views are. To me, that's a problem. You know, I think if I want to jump up and give my artistic support to a politician I believe in and I think can push the country forward, then there's nothing wrong with that. But when they start to use budget, you know, that they've gotten from people to go and buy votes. But then here's the worst part. As soon as election done, they can the 12 show in all the different town them.
Yes.
And here's the money to support. That should be the payment.
Yes. And finally, Jamaica has moved on from reggae music being a negative, because I think of recent days there were some talks about the negative influence of reggae music or dancehall music. That has sort of changed now. That has gone, or is it still there where you got that sort of underbelly wrangling still?
Yeah, you do. You still do. I think there always will be. I think that once a society has a lot of people living below the poverty line, you're gonna have negative experiences of youth, right? And youth, especially dancehall and like hip hop music, are voices of the ghetto, right? So you can't get positive messages from a place where negative things happen more than positive things. It's very difficult. So when people, and I kind of have this dichotomy where I'm like, boy, I'm a father now and I don't want my kids hearing certain things, and you know, so I want to censor things that my children hear. But at the same time, it's like you can't stifle the voice of what people are feeling, right? So if you want to tell people don't talk this way or don't talk that way, then change their existence. Go into the educational system, go into the parenting, you know, and change their experience, because you can't look at somebody and say, oh, you know, don't talk about gun violence or don't talk about drugs or don't talk about sex in a derogatory way, when that's what they learn. That's what they see around them. You know, and that remains there, and that shall remain there. And that's in the UK too. Less so, because you have more social systems that work and work well. In Jamaica we have less, and you know, there's the common problems of people having too much kids and can't deal with the kids, and so the kid grows up without that perspective or without parental support and without understanding and without education and without vocational guidance and mental health. Mental health is a massive problem in Jamaica that we don't even address. We pretend it doesn't exist. You know.
So last thing before I go now, where do you see Jamaica now? I mean, Jamaica has had a setback, of course. Many countries have had a setback because of COVID. Where do you see Jamaica now in 5 years' time with the whole development, the highways, the setback, and trying to move forward? Where do you see Jamaica moving forward?
I hold faith that this time of COVID has let a lot of Jamaicans really look into themselves. Especially some of the people who have power and people who have money and people who have influence, and realize that life is not just about themselves and their comfort, right? Every time I see somebody driving a Benz or BMW in Jamaica, I say, whoa. I said, you could have driven a Civic and you could have used the rest of the money to really change somebody's life. You know, and I'm hoping that is something that's bubbling deeper in society. I've certainly thought a lot more about my fellow man and what they're going through during this time that before I wouldn't have thought about. You know, I'm rushing around doing my business, and I think when things slow down, your mind slows down, and it's natural to think more about the struggles that other people are going through. I'm hoping that's happening. At the same time, a lot of infrastructure is being put in Jamaica, which is fantastic, and it's making us be able to become a smaller country in the sense of being able to get around more and be more in touch with each other. Like I said, I've traveled more around Jamaica last 12 months than I ever had, and speaking more to Jamaicans and feeling a more homogenous feeling of being Jamaican and understanding what that means and feeling like I'm in touch with my countrymen and what's happening with them and what they're going through, and reaching out and touching each other, and hopefully music gets more positive, art gets more positive, we'll put more value on it, education gets more developed, and our respect for the environment, I think, has also grown during COVID period. So that's a good thing too.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you so much for that, and thank you for time went so fast that we are stopping on the 10 o'clock bell, whereby the Queen is saying that we need to go to bed. For the Queen,
I still have a couple hours here, so
still have a couple hours here. But listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and ladies and gentlemen, you can get the book Amazon, Look Down, and of course, even I saw the last image that I was looking at here, whereby you even have to take the beer. Where did you get that Stella? Is that Stella in Italy or was it in Jamaica? I mean, where
I think that Stella is in Kiev, I believe.
Yes.
We went to Kiev for the the Champions League finals, where Sean actually performed before the game, which was pretty fantastic. But I am a beer lover, and if you look at that lower middle picture there, it says Trouble Brewing.
Yes.
And that is actually a Jamaican, the first ever, as far as I know, Jamaican craft beer brewery.
Yes.
They actually make 3 different wonderful craft beers, which are limited availability in Jamaica now. And it's fantastic because it's the artisanry of our people. Yes. And we've always been a beer country, but we've never had very many beers to choose from. So I love that exists now. And that's something that COVID has actually brought on as well. Is a lot of, like I said, my wife started a jam company, and these guys started a beer company, and now there's a lot more artisanal food available in Jamaica and organic food. And I also hope that reflects back on our whole health and our approach to health and our approach to agriculture.
Well, I'm bigging up my Orchard virgin, a guy named Andrew Allen. We went to school together, and my last time in Jamaica, which is a shame, but I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, and Orchard Jerk Center, we still have some Red Stripe beer on ice there. That's what he said. I hope he hasn't drank it, but we still have those Red Stripe beer, because every time I go to Jamaica, other than going to the Kentucky as I come off the plane, that Kentucky is oh my days. Everybody loved the Kentucky there in either downtown or the one in Montego Bay, and then Ocherius Jerk Center as Mr. Ochiman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That Red Stripe beer is there. Red Stripe beer. Andrew Allen, make sure that beer is there. You know what I mean? So
don't worry, there's plenty Red Stripe, so you don't have to worry.
No more.
There's more.
That's one that they're right there on. Yeah. But listen, Virgin, thank you so much for coming on, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you tune in and you get the book by Steve, Look Down, and powerful book. And also, thank you so much for sharing your insight. I find it, Steve, that sometimes the more you speak to Jamaicans sometimes and just getting to know them, you get the richness of the country, and you realize that what the Governor General said, and I always like it, he said, whatever is wrong with Jamaica can be made right with what is right for Jamaica.
I agree 100%.
And so therefore,
the best thing about this country is our people.
Yes. The human resources, which is powerful.
Absolutely.
As well. So, brethren, listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and keep the contact as much as possible. And when you come to the UK, make sure we link.
Oh, for the walk and talk when I come to the UK, what do you mean?
No. Hang on. The walk and talk is not when you come to the UK. We just take the phone and we just walk and talk. Right. The last person I did in Jamaica, they were walking in what's it called? The Naked People Park. What do you call it?
Emancipation Park. Naked People Park.
And I'm walking in Catford on the Sea here in South London in the park, and it was beautiful with Katie, and she works with Grace Kennedy. And I just did a walk and talk with someone from Poland, a lawyer from Poland who's Iranian.
Nice.
And then
what time you do those? You must let me know, because I also do. I'm a big walker. So
yes. Well, we can do it on the weekend, because the weekend is much better for you because of the time difference. So we can do it like 6 o'clock those times, and then because my quest is to have a walk and talk with somebody of every single country in this world, and that is something which inspired me as a result of COVID. So say, COVID, you can't mash up your life. All right, that's all we can say. COVID, you can't mash up your life.
COVID, you can't mash up your life.
All right, Steve. Listen. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. It was enjoyable, and I hope people enjoyed it.
Yes, I enjoy myself.
Can let people know where they can check it out.
Oh yeah,
because I know a
definitely.
lot of people wouldn't be able to tune in, being as it's Sunday evening and Sunday night. So
yes, definitely. And thanking for those on Instagram as well. Jamaica said great interview, Steve. Real talk.
oh, respect.
You know, and Benjamin.
That's one of my Scotch crew.
A Scotch crew.
I have a Scotch club in Jamaica. That's one of the members.
All
Big
right.
up, Rich.
Okay, cool. And those on Instagram and Facebook, and of course it's going to be on a replay, so people can always get the replay, and then we can boost it as well, because I believe it says a lot and spread it within the diaspora. And we trust, Steve. One of the things that I hope that is somehow the reggae artists can really come together eventually and pull together and have this lobby factor where they can be one voice, and that everybody, the big ones and the young ones and the small ones, them come.
I'm working on it.
Yes, good man. Keep me posted. All right, then, boss.
Bless.
Thank you very much, Steve. Don't go. Just stay right there. Yeah, 1 second. Okay, good man. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on to the show, and thank you so much for Steve, all the way from Jamaica, Urchin Wilson, and you've seen the show, you've seen the book. Make sure you grab the book. The details are right there, which is going across the screen, and tune in next week for the rest of the shows. And have a good night. Those on Instagram, thank you. Facebook and YouTube, thank you very much. Have a fantastic night, and may God bless you all. Thank you.